MLK Day out there, everyone. We're coming to you earlier than normal on this weekday because we have an awesome slate of day ball today, particularly Illinois and Purdue, which we will lead off the show with. But first, a little bit of takeaways maybe from the weekend here. Jim, how you doing? You're out in Vegas. What'd you see?
I saw a lot, Kai. There's a heck of a lot of basketball on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot of my takeaways on the old Field of 68 After Dark show on Saturday night. Got some time in there, which, hey, that goes live on Sirius tonight, I believe. That's the start of the new deal. So make sure to check that out, folks. But hey, my takeaway from there, just something we really dove into was, man, Matt, the Blue Bloods got right on Saturday. Duke looked incredible. The shift to Jeremy Roach to the bench has been great. And man, did Kentucky have a hell of an offensive performance. Just blew away the second best defense in the country, put up triple digits, had like a 65, 60, 90 shooting line, something like that. The Wildcats were incredible. Matt, are they better than Auburn? What do you think?
Yes. I've always thought that, Jim.
Wow.
I do think that. Now, I will say, let's admit, there is some wild shot making actually on both ends of that. I thought the final score was incredibly misleading. I think people wanted to take that run with like, Tennessee's defense is broken. Oh, Kentucky's got defensive issues to correct if we're going to take them seriously as a national contender. It's like the game was blown open early. I think there is some outlier shot making, Kai. I like both teams still. I like Tennessee stubbornly, yes. And I still have Kentucky a slight notch ahead of Auburn.
Hey, they play on Saturday, so we're going to get a nice.
We will find out. Yes, we will. Kai, my quick takeaway is Butler.
They're bad.
If you're ranking Big East bottom dwellers, I watched them in the Georgetown game too. I was like, man, there's some crapola at the bottom of the barrel there. So tough year for Butler and Georgetown.
Yeah, I mean, Butler won by 14 at Georgetown. Granted, Dante Harris didn't play, but that's how bad Georgetown is.
Yeah, starting to see a lot of Fire Laval Jordan tweets. Maybe.
Oh, we don't want to see that.
I think that might be a little
kind of warranted a little bit. 40-point victory for Villanova and a 40-point victory for Marist of all teams over Monmouth. That's one of the most surprising results of the season. Monmouth clearly not right.
Kai, did you see what happened to Marist KenPom rank after that game?
I saw it jumped 50 spots, Jim.
50 spots in mid-January is like really hard to do.
Alarm bells are ringing, folks. That means fade Marist on your next bet. Perhaps. They're also really good. The freshman Patuka is
I'll probably fade Marist next game.
All right, enough talk. We got a game coming up here very, very soon. Under an hour. Purdue is going to Illinois, guys. Matt, the spread is -1 in favor of Illinois. Purdue in Big Ten road games lost to Rutgers. Nearly lost to Penn State. Now they're going to play at the real Assembly Hall against a 7-0 Illinois team in the Big Ten. What do you think?
Man, I don't have a ton of take here on the side, Kai. I mean, just two obvious heavyweights going at it up front. Jim, do you have any hot takes on the side here? I mean, it's going to be just a barn burner, baby. And I think with this early start, MLK Day, it's an awkward time spot for both teams. I like the under. I think there's a little bit of a slow, still wiping the sleep out of your eyes first half. I know both teams have played fast in certain spots this season, and they've made shots. But now that you put them up against two, formidable defenses, I know Purdue's not been elite, but still, Illinois I think has inflated their total score, so to speak, with A, unsustainable shooting, and B, playing teams that just aren't in the same ilk as Purdue defensively, Jim. So I think all that kind of culminates in a slightly uglier game than a 147 total indicates.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the total. Sidewise, I mean, I just can't wait to see the battle in the paint. Like, neither of these teams have met many equals in terms of the center position. Coburn's only game really against a formidable front line, I'd say, was the Arizona game, and he was 5 for 15 from the field, 5 turnovers, still at 13 and 13. So, like, okay, if you're going off that, decent stat line, but a 72 O rating, Kai, not ideal.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Purdue, because they have two guys, like, they're pretty much always putting up decent stats. Against Wisconsin, they combined for 34 and 15. Worst performance was probably against UNC. They combined for 29 and 7. That's not great for them, Edie and Williams. But I just like if they can actually kind of cover Coburn's single coverage and take away some of the open 3-point shots that Illinois gets, that helps the under, that helps Purdue. Kai, we've gone this long, though, without talking about Curbelo. He's dressed. Yeah. Do we think that matters today?
No, I don't. I don't think he'll play. And if he does, it'll be a little bit.
Doesn't matter.
Some people think it'll hurt Illinois. I'm not sure if that's the case. I think Edie plus Williams. 2 is better than 1, right? Against Kofi. I think that's actually a huge deal because we talked about no one in the country can guard Kofi, maybe not even Purdue, but they have as good a chance as anyone to actually put up a fight. And as mentioned in the chat, Illinois hasn't played anybody good in quite a while. Their last 4 Big Ten games, Maryland, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Michigan. I mean, this Purdue team is on a different plane than all of those teams. I personally think Purdue's been a little bit bored lately. They haven't been playing very many good teams either. And you saw them against the good teams early in the season. They've been kind of sleepwalking lately. I think they're up for this game. I actually lean towards Purdue +1. It's hard for me to believe Illinois goes 8-0 to start Big Ten play.
Yeah, Jim, to further belabor this, Illinois, the second worst in-conference strength of schedule per KenPom within the Big Ten this season. Now, it's funny that this is the one spot where I think they kind of got hosed. You get an awesome hype home game in the middle of the day, as Jeff Goodman pointing out, how much juice is going to be in that building, right? I know it's a holiday, but still, I question that that's going to have the same, pack the same punch as a typical night hype home Big Ten game. So kind of a tough draw, I think, for Illinois in this particular situation.
Not as much time to get the juices flowing, to get
that's right.
Tailgating, the drinking.
Start drinking early, folks.
One thing I'll say, I don't think Purdue's been bored. I think they just haven't been as good. I mean, they lost at home to Wisconsin. Yeah. That was not impressive. Since December 1st, this is like a 30th-ish best team. Like they just haven't had the gear that they've had since that they had in November. So I'm curious if they rediscover it today. I probably lean towards Illinois as long as Curbelo's not in there, because I don't think he hurts them long-term, Kai, but first game back, if they try to just like hand him the ball and say, here's 20 minutes where it's your offense, I hate that idea. Yeah. So I don't think they'll do it. I'm with you guys. I don't think he'll play. So nothing super strong on the side, but Matt, we had to at least try to break it down. We can't just disregard the side.
Angle, take.
A nice split on lean there. I like that. It's good for good television. All right. Indiana at Nebraska. Well, Illinois was 7-0. Nebraska's 0-7 in the Big Ten. I would say they have a chance to win this game though, man. This is their 4th home game in the Big Ten. Yeah. Michigan blew them out by 40, but played Illinois close, took Ohio State to overtime. I forgot their last game, but it was close as well. I think they have a shot here to keep this one close as well. Jim, will Trey McGowan's play? That could be huge for Nebraska.
Yeah, that's another one of like reincorporating a guy. Is it going to work the first game, or is it going to be kind of dysfunctional? Curious to see that one. Matt, do you know how many straight games Indiana has lost against the spread on the road?
They haven't covered one this year on the road. I know that. I had to go back to last year.
We're up to 8. 8 straight on the road. It was like mid-January last year. So basically a calendar year since Indiana's covered a game on the road, laying almost double digits. Man, it's hard to trust a team like that at this point. They did play a nice first half against Iowa, but collapsed late. Could have the same issues today. They should dominate the paint, but so many games they just forget about it. They go away from it. And I'm concerned that happens again today. So I'm leaning towards the home dog Nebraska as well, Matthias.
I am too. I hopped in at 9. I know it's been bet down to 8. It does worry me. I think you need every point of value you can possibly get with Nebraska. Now, Kai, you mentioned they've been competitive at home. I think 3-2 in their last conference games against the number. They already played once this year. This was Indiana's first, I believe, both teams' first conference game before the calendar turned. And Nebraska hung tight. They didn't even shoot well, right? So usually you think Nebraska like I have to shoot 14 of 28 from 3 to hang around. They actually had a poor shooting night and kept IU. They were within striking distance for most of that game. So I think they go back to Nebraska. They have a little bit of confidence. I think the reinsurgence of McGowan's or just his reinfusion to the team kind of buoys their general spirit. You look at their 0-7 record. Obviously, you sort of have to wonder. It's like, what are we out here fighting for? But I think Nebraska is a live dog here at home for sure. Just because Indiana is so inept on the road, they don't know how to execute down the stretch. The whole Woodson rotation crucifixion is bad. Big
hullabaloo about playing 5 bench guys at once, which
like the platoon thing. Yeah, it's not.
That's
not
an
been well
NBA
received.
thing of like playing a bench lineup, and why do that? Like there's no reason to in college. It's
not been well received.
And shame on me for not mentioning this at the beginning here. Graham mentioned in the chat. Yes, this is the battle for Kirkwood. Kirkwood, a bar in Chicago.
That's right, baby.
It's strangely an Indiana and a Nebraska bar.
Home of WeaveCon 1.
Home of WeaveCon 1. So yeah, that bar is going to be fully out today. I think Nebraska comes out chippy. I think they hang around. I think the last 4 minutes will be a sweat either way. And I can't wait to sweat with my Nebraska, whatever ticket I got it at a small price. Next game. This one's fun. Notre Dame at Howard. Kudos to Notre Dame for scheduling this game. I believe it was canceled last season. They tried to get it done, couldn't get it, COVID reasons. Unlike Duke, Matt, who just hosted a tournament, didn't actually play Howard, wasn't going to play Howard. Hilarious stuff from Duke. Jim, Howard's been really good this year. They've competed with solid teams, I would say. And I think this game's kind of hard to cap because I don't see Notre Dame blowing them out or trying to blow them out. And I don't think Howard's pressure is going to bother Notre Dame. So I guess that leads me to kind of lean the dog, but just a strange non-con power versus very, very low major battle.
Yeah, the thing is, like, matchup wise, this is terrible for Howard. Like, they want to press you, get you sped up, make you uncomfortable. And Notre Dame is a bunch of adults in the backcourt that don't turn the ball up. They're like 19th in the country in turnover rate. That's not good. Howard's not getting, they're not speeding you up, and they're not getting transition opportunities to score. They're going to struggle. But I'm kind of with you on the angle. Like, I don't think Bray wants to undress Howard in this game. And whether this should matter or not, probably not, but I think it matters. This is Gus Johnson returning to his alma mater to announce a Howard game here on MLK Day against an ACC team. It's hard for me to see that being a blowout, like just having to fill a bunch of time. I do think we get kind of a feisty Howard effort despite the matchup. So I'm not betting this one, Matthew.
Yeah, I was actually looking to bet Howard too, Jim. I think you mentioned some of the good spot points, but problem is that Notre Dame off the loss, especially because they're going to be presumably in the area coming from Bot Tech. The prize going to stay on the East Coast. So it's not like we got to go fly out to the East Coast to play Howard. It's like, well, shit, we just lost and we're already here. So let's bounce back and come with a strong performance here, Kai. I'm trying to get inside the psyche of the Irish. I don't know. I'm splitting hairs there. Obviously, no strong take on this. It's kind of a whack-a-mole type of spread. It's just tough to handicap these types of middle of conference, weird non-con games where motivation is sort of a crapshoot on both sides.
And the dog can shoot. Howard's still 11th in the country in 3-point percentage. And apparently that's not an aberration. They've been shooting
well. Hasn't come down the way I thought it would. Yeah, my goodness.
They can shoot. And that's helpful, obviously, in these big spreads at home. But yeah, should be a fun game either way. Next game, Pac-12, Utah at Arizona State. Matt, there might not be two more gross Pac-12 teams at the moment than these two. Arizona State's been awful. They're pounded by Cal and Colorado. Really strange right after they won at Creighton, at Oregon, and played San Francisco close prior to that. The Utah's a mess too. They haven't won on the road. They're 1-4 against the spread on the road, and they don't have Brandon Carlson still. What do you think?
Worth noting too, this is an early tip, West Coast. I think it's 4 p.m. Eastern, so 1 p.m. on Pacific, if I did my math right there, Kai.
Good job.
Jim, I don't know how you touch either of these two teams. They just haven't had an intact roster rotation for the better part of weeks now. Utah, you have Braden Carlson. He's been in and out of the lineup. They had injuries before that. Craig Smith's still soul searching with who he's going to play. And you look at their minute oscillations. I mean, it's up and down everywhere. And Arizona State, I mean, talk about a team that's been completely helpless since coming off that long COVID pause. And it sounded like it was a really bad pause. Like everyone on the team had it. Hurley had it. He talked about how he was being ultra cautious because he had remember the whole motorcycle accident. So he's like, has some like lung. So point being, they really they took the whole COVID thing very seriously, and it showed. I mean, when you go to Cal and lose by 24 and then coming off another mini break, you lose by 18 at home to Colorado, Jim. They're just kind of helpless right now. I don't know how you can trust either team.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I want to trust Craig Smith against Bobby Hurley, but without Carlson, it's hard to say much. They hung around with Arizona for a little while, but Arizona was without Kriisa, so maybe that's a little bit of a part of it. I just don't get why this Arizona State team can't shoot. Like, Marion Jackson and Luther Muhammad are both sub 20% from three, and we have pretty solid, strong track records of both of them being 35% or better guys. It makes no sense that they're this bad. It's like that year Virginia had Morcell and Braxton Key both shoot 18% on high volume. It's ruining the offense. I think at some point Marion Jackson will turn around, but we have yet to see the shred of evidence that it will happen. Matt, I do want to say you did your math right. That would be 1 p.m. Pacific, but 10 p.m. Mountain Time. So it's going to be 2 o'clock.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Not sure how I factored in my handicap. But no, Jimmy
lessons.
mentioned
we got to have geography lessons on the show.
But Jackson and Muhammad are like the reason we like this team. At least me coming into the season, they've been what's dragging the offensive efficiency down.
Those guys haven't existed.
And a healthy Bagley would be nice too.
Yeah, without Brandon Carlson, Utah's 1-3 against the spread, and they're bad without him. Like they cannot score. I agree with the undertake in the chat. That's probably the way I'd lean as well. I think the Sun Devils,
Arizona State and Colorado combined for 15 points the final 8 minutes.
Yeah.
To lose an under by a hook.
I think ASU gets it done with a short spread. And yes, I am aware Matthew, who's on the sidelines. Craig Smith is a much better coach than Bobby Hurley.
Yep.
He is. It's true. All right. Chat mob, round 1. Jim, what do you got?
All right. We've got plenty. Matt, I'm going to start with one of your darlings or past darlings. I can't decide. I don't know for sure if you've left them in the dust or not. George Washington. Harry R is asking if they are full auto fade right now.
The market seems to agree, got bet up from 5 to 6. I, of course, still have them probably overrated. You just look at their individual offensive ratings on KenPom's page or any of the advanced metrics. No one's having a good year for that team right now. And this is basically a nothing travel for George Mason coming across town there in DC. I think Mason kind of smacks him. That's what my gut tells me.
Yeah, market seems to agree. That one's been bet up. And I just looked at that game and was like, George Mason's way better. They should crush them. The talent on the floor for GW is good, but the coaching is not, and they have not come together at all as a team. All right, Kai, a couple from Pete K here. UMBC at Stony Brook in the America East, 2 teams that we thought could maybe give Vermont a little bit of a run, and both got absolutely gobsmacked by them. Wow. So, which one do you have in the battle for second?
I'd lean towards Stony Brook. Pretty short spread, 3.5, 3. I still think Stony Brook's good. Alani is back in the lineup for them. Their defense has been terrible. Obviously Vermont was on fire, hit 19 threes, but it's been bad before that. I lean their way though against UMBC, a team I don't think is quite back to a level we expect them to be preseason following this pause.
Yeah, both teams' interior defense, terrible, horrible.
Yeah. Strangely, I would argue that 5 of Stony Brook's worst 6 games have been with Alani on the floor, which doesn't square up to my expectations with them, but they were seemingly better without him. It's weird. He hasn't fit.
I agree.
All right, Matt, the other one from Pete and Harry R also asked about this. I'm going to let you decide if you want to reveal anything about where you're at in this game. Penn at Princeton.
It's on the schedule, guys. It's on the rundown.
Okay. All right. It was going to be also in best bets. So we can get to that later. We'll save that, holster it. All right, Matt, you get another one from up in that corridor of the world, the Northeast. St. Francis, Pennsylvania, headed to Bryant. Ryan Smith asking about this one. I think he was leaning towards Bryant as a roughly 7.5 point favorite. What do you got?
Yeah, I love Bryant here. I've watched the Red Flash play a few times. They are porous in transition D, and that's where Bryant's been super effective, obviously, starting last year with the whole offense that Grasso implemented there. Bryant hasn't been as awesome this year offensively just because they haven't made shots, and they've had teams that have really gotten back in transition, slowed them down. But St. Francis is not the team to do that. I think they won by 10 easy here.
All right, Kai, MEAC game that I think you have a lean on. Another one from Harry. Norfolk State at Maryland Eastern Shore. UMES was immense early in the season, covered a ton of games, but they've been off for quite a while. Now they take on a traditional power in the league. What do you got?
Yeah, they were great beginning of the year. They haven't played in a month, maybe even more than a month. Now, that hasn't mattered at all for most teams in the country, so maybe put that out of your mind. But I think Norfolk State is very good, and especially in MEAC play, I expect them to kind of dominate, win the league. So I like them in a short spread here. It's up to 4, probably a little bit too much right now, just not knowing how UMES comes out, but lean towards Norfolk.
Okay, Matt. Drexel and Hofstra. What do you got here? There's injury questions on both sides with James Butler, Lamar Odin for Drexel. Hofstra's got Zach Cook's issues. Anything for you? This question comes from Ed.
Yeah, I was leaning toward Drexel, but I'm not going to take it because of the Butler thing. I think he's pretty paramount to their defense up front. Just if you want to look at this handicap from one lens, if you're interested in Drexel, you're basically catching the reigning Colonial champion from last year with pretty much everyone back from that team, and you're all of a sudden 8-point dogs. I know Hofstra's been awesome, but it does feel like it's a little bit high.
Yeah, but their best player, one of their best players.
Right. I think the Butler thing is why, right? But just if you're in the players don't matter camp, which I am, if with the exception of this game, I think there's some value on Drexel.
Yeah,
Butler does matter.
The reigning champ thing is a little misleading too. They were they were 4-5 in league play last year, but they won the tournament. So
yeah, I guess
they weren't exactly the best team, although they did finish with the best Ken Palm ranking.
I think they had the best record or the best analytic ranking. Yeah.
Yep. After the tournament run, which I still don't buy because that league was ravaged by COVID last year. All right, Kai, speaking of that league, James Madison at Elon. Elon couldn't quite get the cover against a very shorthanded Towson. That was a little bit surprising this weekend.
Yeah, tough push.
Meanwhile, James Madison needed overtime to beat the absolute monstrosity that is William and Mary. What do you think here?
William and Mary rocks in CAA play, apparently. I lean towards James Madison. I still think they're the best team in this conference. So I'm sticking to my guns there. And that's really all I got, Jim.
Yeah, Sule was out for James Madison. Gillens Butler was out for Elon last game. Maybe that's roughly a wash, I think. Maybe Gillens Butler a little more meaningful. Matt, speaking of William and Mary and the wagon that they've been in this league, they're now hosting Towson. They've taken a ton of money. I think Gibson should be back for Towson. He was out because of a death in the family, but I don't think Terry Nolan will be back. Does William and Mary just keep doing it? Are they just going to be a monster in the CAA against the spread?
I kind of think if Nolan was in there, I'd be looking to take Towson. William and Mary's been great. It was clearly there was like a Dane Fisher rope-a-dope. Obviously, they had some injuries and guys out to start the non-conference, but I don't know if I trust a freshman-laden young team to continually play well. They're going to be prone to, I think, that's the William and Mary team we saw back in November. And I think this is one of those games where Towson smacks them. Didn't take it though just because of the Nolan thing. He's pretty important. So
and Jason Gibson.
Yeah, I think Gibson's back.
If Gibson comes back,
back.
Okay. Death in the family, so
gotcha.
Not an injury. I lean William and Mary, but man, they've had some pretty beastly shooting luck in their little run here, so perhaps that runs out. Kai from Ryan A. The Citadel at Mercer. This is one we were all kind of eyeing up here. The Citadel
hosting Mercer, right?
Is it? I thought it was at Mercer. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's at Citadel.
Okay, all right.
Unfortunately,
what do you got in this game though?
It's at the Dell.
Unfortunately, I like Mercer. I don't know if Hayden Brown's going to play. If he doesn't play, it's a Mercer bet for sure. If he's in, I hesitate at 3.5, 4.
It's been smacked up. It has been smacked up though. Yeah.
And so the Citadel played VMI. That's kind of like their big rivalry game. The two military institutions. They had a decent crowd on Saturday, which I think they almost never have. That one's going to be a dead gym today, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's save the rest for later and get back to the outline.
Yes, that's my cue. Wyoming at Nevada, Mountain West. Wyoming trending up, Jim. Nevada's still very weird this season. What do you think in this game?
Oh boy, that wasn't much of a run up. I'm trying to manage the chat here.
I got takes in this game. Let's go.
Here we go. Here's
hot.
Better run up. The pokes are starting to get a tad overvalued. Nevada, perhaps a good buy low. They were supposed to be one of the best teams in the Mountain West this preseason. Matt, what do you think about this game?
Well, Kai, let me tell you what I think. Nevada has not been as dominant at home as we thought. I mean, that Boise game still gives me a sour taste in my mouth. The crowd was dead. They haven't really defended at a high level at all. And you just look at even teams that they probably should put away with conviction, they haven't. And I think that's a developing subtle trend that we need to keep an eye on. And there's few coaches in the country who I respect more than Jeff Linder. The job he's done at Wyoming in such a short time, like his analytic brethren, Todd Golden at San Francisco, they had a big gaping hole up front and they solved it. And they have Graham Ike, who is a monster, and they have this awesome balance. And this team's for real, man. I think Wyoming, you can't look at them as like the Wyoming talent depleted, cute, fun home team of years past. I mean, they're a legit team. So I think they're on upset alert here. The Pack are.
Yeah, I was going through some bracketology stuff yesterday, and I'm going to finish up after the show. And Wyoming is like a real at-large candidate. They have 2 Q1 wins. Where are they in the net? They're 27th in the net. Like the team is right up there with Colorado State as like the best team analytically and potential at large for this conference. And Nevada, I mean, they got smacked by Boise. I thought that was a decent spot for them with both teams off a pause. Yeah. Clearly not. So, I mean, the number, I still think Nevada is maybe a little undervalued numerically here, but I think Linder could coach circles around Alford, and I don't want to be against that.
Yeah, Linder's going to have fun cutting up that Wolfpack defense. It's a nice battle in the front court, though, for sure. These are two of the biggest teams in the country, so it's kind of strength for strength in that sense. Maybe Wyoming hasn't seen that type of front court, at least that much this season. And I think the point about Nevada being undervalued, Wyoming's probably getting to the peak of its value. If it's not already there,
Yeah.
it's pretty dang close. You're saying Wyoming's better on a neutral? I guess if the way they've been playing, sure, but I still think Nevada's probably the better team, maybe the rest of the way. So I'd probably lean Nevada -2.
It's cheap, man. Yeah, Nevada at home, basically a pick against the Wyoming. Yeah, it's a good point.
All right, next game, Missouri Valley. Drake at Southern Illinois. Jim, SIU played Missouri State pretty tough and then nearly beat Northern Iowa at home their last game. This feels like they might snag one here against Drake.
Yeah, Drake has just been not as sharp this season, despite having so many guys back from last year. It's been a different team, different vibe around them. Whereas SIU, man, they've been mega feisty as an underdog. And I know it's only a short line here, but they slow games down. They're the slowest team in the entire country. They make you play in the half court. And if Drake's not getting some turnovers and some of that pressure where, Matt, they go on like those 10-0 runs, that was like their patented thing last year, was just spurtability and being able to put that on you. You're not going to be able to do that against the Salukis. So they're going to have to grind it out here. I do think Drake gets the tempo up a little bit, and I lean towards the over. It is a low number. But man, the way Southern Illinois has controlled games lately, I don't think I have a keen interest in getting in the way of that.
What's the status of Tank Hemphill? Sorry, did you mention that, Jim? I was looking at my notes here while you.
I did not mention it.
He did not play last game. I think he's a key piece, athletic defender, and Southern Illinois is off
the head of their press.
Yeah, when they pressure, he's up there at the front, wreaking havoc. I also think he's going to probably see some time in the half court man-to-man on Marcus Domask, who is just a, kind of a fringy tweener type of inside-out post player for the Salukis. Kind of hard to describe. He does a little bit of everything, jack of all trades type dude, but awesome player. And he's been the linchpin of that offense, Kai, as their backcourt has slowly come back in the fold. They've had a bunch of injuries there, the Salukis have on the perimeter. I think price-wise, it's about right. So, sorry, boring, nothing, fence rider. Stay away from me here, Kai.
Yeah, without knowing if Hemphill's in, Drake's 0-3 against the spread. They've been so at best last couple of games. I think Southern Illinois' defense is tough. They play fundamental under Mullins. I'm always impressed by them. I think he's a great coach.
Yeah, there's the Porter Moser DNA in their defense with how smart they are. Yeah,
that SIU shooting, though, maybe a little bit of an aberration so far in Missouri Valley play. It's number 1 right now in effective field goal percentage. Might be a little fluky. Probably stay away here, but I kind of think Southern Illinois wins this game. And now we have 2 Ivy schools. Well, 2 Ivy games to finish off our rundown.
Ivy Mondays? What is this?
Ivy Mondays. Yeah, strange. I prefer Friday. Jim, Yale at Brown. Brown, 1-3 to start Ivy play, but all 4 games have been on the road. They lost 4 to Penn, lost to Princeton by 2, beat Harvard. And now they get their first game at home against the 1-0 Yale team. Any leans in this game?
Not a ton. I mean, so Yale was like the preseason favorite, but I would say of all conference projections, this one was the most inexact because we knew like only about half of the players, 2 different classes of freshmen and sophomores had not played a college basketball game. So there were a lot of questions. Yale's got a really strong backcourt trio, but they could get beat up inside here, Matthew. The Tamanang Cho, Gainey combination for Brown is much more athletic and physical than what Yale's got up front. Brown's just been like a really strong squad so far this year, especially defensively. They're built with different DNA, and Martin has talked about that. Like I built this team more athletically, more defensive minded than basically every other Ivy squad. And I think that makes them a tough matchup. Kai, you mentioned that they're 1-3, but some really, really feisty efforts on the road against good teams. So back home, I do sort of lean towards Brown on this one.
I like the other side here, Jim. It's been bet down to a point from +2. So I do like the Bulldogs. I think how good their guard trio is with Swain, Cotton, and Gabadon, if I'm saying that correctly. Like they sort of negate the edge that Brown often has on the perimeter. Now you could argue that that's Brown's strength is that they have the quickness to stay with those guards, but I think that's what Yale kind of lives on and feast on. And I just thought they looked so impressive against Cornell. I know it was a weird spot. Cornell was a little bit banged up, but we finally, I think, see a Yale that will play closer to preseason expectations here. Not that they've underachieved to start, but they've been in some weird spots. And James Jones talked about how they haven't been able to schedule anything in the non-con. They've had a ton of tough travels. They just went all the way to St. Mary's, got blitzed, and then came back in a throwaway game. I think you're going to see Yale start to quietly surge up to the top of the Ivy standings.
Yeah. Their defense is pretty good, Yale as well. I don't think they're going to be intimidated by, it seems like Brown kind of out physicals most Ivy teams. That's kind of their brand. I don't think they do that against Yale. So I kind of lean towards them as well. Nothing strong. Last game here on the rundown, Penn at Princeton. Matt, buddy, I mean, if Lulu is back, I'm going against you. I think Princeton rocks with him in the lineup. I don't know if he's back or not. It was implied he might be today. What do you think if he is in or out of the lineup?
Well, my best bet is going against you here, Kai. I like the red and blue. Penn catching, unfortunately, only 4 now. It's been bet down pretty heavily.
3.5 BetRivers. Yikes.
All right, 3 was my strike, assuming Llewellyn's out. So can I do a best bet caveat? Yeah, I think you have to wait for the lineup here. Or what you could do is wait to see that he's in potentially, and then maybe you can buy back if it rises to 4 or 5. I think Penn's really good.
Yeah, this is your best bet, Matt. Break it down for us.
Just do it now. Penn's winning this game. Here's why. Because even if Llewellyn's back, he won't be at 100%. You got to have Princeton lacks perimeter quickness. They have basically Toussaint Noah inside, who's a phenomenal low post player. They have Llewellyn, who is like the catalyst on the perimeter. And they have a bunch of shooters around those dudes. And without Llewellyn, take away their best perimeter defender, take away their best perimeter creator, Kai. It gets Jordan Dingle, who I think is still the most talented player in this league. He could have a field day against the Tigers. So, and another thing I didn't mention with my prior Yale endorsement, Jim, I just think road teams will play very well in the Ivy. I just don't think there's any home there's no fans. Travel is basically negligible, as we always know, and they have days off more commonly than they did in years past when they had the back-to-back. So I'm playing a lot of road Ivy teams, I think, this year.
Yeah, I mean, you go through
suspicion.
Like even just the way Ken Pom values the home court, they're like all in the bottom 40 in the country in home court value. Like it's just not that big in the Ivy because of, like you said, the travel, the crowds aren't big. There's not like mega athleticism edges. And I think that is large for not having a lot of home court value here. I kind of am with Kai, I think, here, though, unfortunately, which is tough. If it's a best bet and we're almost like 2/3 against it, Penn just hasn't been very strong defensively this year. I think they're kind of a sieve, and Princeton has cut through sieves this season. Their offense has been a fireball, but I don't want to recommend either side without Llewellyn. So I think doing the injury caveat, I guess, makes sense, but it's tough to have best bet. Like, what are you going to do if he doesn't play? Is it not your best bet?
Well, no, I guess if he doesn't play, I would have had wished.
If he does play.
If he does play, yeah, I think we have to assume now he is. He's not playing. So I'd say, assuming that, take the bet now. I will regret endorsing it if he does actually play. However, I would say in that case, wait for the line to rise and bet more, because I would play it at +4.5, +5, I think, if he's in there.
Yeah, not me, man. Llewellyn's on. Penn, throw the non-con out. They've been good in the Ivy, but I'm not impressed by the Cornell win or the Dartmouth win. And they lost to Columbia, of all teams.
Yeah,
can't lose to Columbia. I mean, my God, I don't even think Nweke was in the lineup.
Hey, Columbia was up at the half on a Llewellyn aided Princeton team. So
if Llewellyn's in, this game is an over bet for me, for sure. That's my strongest take in this game.
I think it's over either way for me, Kai. That's my take. I agree. I think both teams are struggled defensively.
Yep. My boy George Smith has emerged for Penn. How dare you not talk about him, Matt? The freshman that stepped into the lineup and has 2 Ken Pom game MVPs.
I know, he's been good. He's been great.
The first game I watched him play, he's number 40 and he's a little lefty. He's almost balding. And I was like, this guy is he a walk-on? Who is he? But he's like a legitimate good defender, knocks down shots, basically unseated Jonah Charles's role. And they've been better with him out there. So
yeah,
shout out to Mr. George Smith.
He's been spunky.
Well, that does it for a rundown, Jim. You got the second round of the chat mob fired up, I assume.
Sure do. And I'm going to field the first question from Austin Rayleigh. Belmont headed to SIU Edwardsville. Fun stat, guys. I wrote this one up for Action Network that I found in my research. Belmont has covered 8 straight games as a road favorite of 10 or more. That's in conference. They're a motivated favorite going to these teams and just smacking them. I think they have some absurd record, like 14-5 over the last 20. And the only ones they haven't won by double digits were by like 7 and 8 and 9. Like, they're awesome against these bad teams. And they're coming off a loss against Murray State, veteran team. Shouldn't be let down. It should be more motivation. I think Belmont kind of crushes them.
I'm with you, Jim.
All right.
Especially off the Murray. Yeah, agree.
Next one from Cam Wisnowski and Dom the Don, Matthew.
The Dominator.
The Big Five. LaSalle is headed to St. Joe's, the only conference matchup that is in the Big Five. 2 A-10 teams here. What are you thinking?
I took LaSalle small. I know it's been pretty disastrous here for that squad, but this just came off a pretty impressive effort. They took who they take to overtime. Oh yeah, they took the Bonnies to overtime. Now I know the Bonnies have struggled this year, but I still have to respect that. I think there's a little bit of a rejuvenation with the midseason roster shuffle. And basically for a game that'll have no home court value, Kai, I think catching a touchdown at St. Joe is a pretty good bet.
Personnel. Brickus might still be out for LaSalle. That worries me.
Don't care.
People
don't matter. Don't matter. Irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't trust either team at all, so I'm staying far, far away from that.
Fair point.
Speaking of teams not worth trusting, Kai, Charlotte, those demons, they're headed to.
I can't believe I didn't talk about this already. Yeah.
They're headed to Florida Atlantic. AB Sports asked about this game early in the chat. I believe it was Harry said, "Can we just ban Charlotte forever?" Man, it's tempting after that final 90 seconds last game.
Guys, Charlotte point shaved. I don't know if you guys saw the game. They point shaved against UTSA. I'm dead serious.
People didn't like our whining. People were like, "Oh, well, they were covering the whole second half." It's like Charlotte was up 20 points in 5 minutes first half.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
I've never seen it's not a total blowout. We're only at like 16 with 90 seconds left, intentionally fouling the double bonus to get a guy out rather than playing out a defensive possession and taking a timeout.
In the double bonus.
The game got down to 9 with like 40 seconds left. Your starting point guard should be on the floor.
Yeah.
We're calling an investigation.
They dropped the rebound. They missed a dunk that wasn't even looking like he was trying to make it. Oh boy, I got a lot of takes in that one. Charlotte point shaved. Okay. Charlotte against Florida Atlantic. Wow, +4. That seems high. That seems high. Florida Atlantic's been playing a lot better, but that is a high spread. I agree.
Charlotte. It's too
all that said about Charlotte.
All that
they're
said,
still talented, and they were better than the final margin of that game. We'll say. Yeah. All right, Matt Akers out in the Big Sky. Weber State taking on Idaho State. Idaho State's been god awful. They're like bottom 15 in the entire country. They might be worse than Idaho, although they did just beat Idaho head to head. Man, how do they keep it close against Weber State's wing athletes?
I don't know if they do. I'm going to cherry pick a spot type of play I used last week with App State and South Alabama. These two teams play again on Thursday. So I'm kind of hoping to bet on Idaho State on the road, assuming Weber smacks them today. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of like, let's see what happens here and then use that as like a go back against the current rematch.
Yeah. The only the one comparable of this that I've seen, Louisiana Tech, CUSA favorite, played Southern Miss twice in a row and beat them by like 30 in the first one. And maybe the final margin was a little lower, but it came down. Second game was a little closer. I think Louisiana Tech, both games landed right around the number, but Louisiana Tech blew out the first one. Second one was close and then extended late.
Actually played like a closer game, right? Okay.
Yep. Kai, in the NEC, Lashana Crowell, Mount St. Mary's headed to Merrimack here. Merrimack's been kind of feisty, but they did lose their last one. Mount St. Mary's has been a shell of the team we thought they'd be after they won the conference tournament last year. Anything for you on this game?
Yeah, Mount's been really disappointing. I'm trying to think I don't have the numbers in front of me, but anecdotally, it seems like Merrimack probably gets destroyed on the boards in their zone. And Mount St. Mary's, all they do is hit the glass. That seems like a bad matchup angle, but I don't think the Mount can shoot, especially without Chong Kui this year in the lineup.
Yeah, Merrimack is 357th in the country in defensive rebound rate.
There you go. So that worries me against Mount, a team that probably should be doing better than it is right now. Maybe it's a buy low for them at +3.5.
Yeah, the other matchup thing there is Merrimack's going to turn them over like a billion times.
True.
Mount is super sloppy.
That's the angle. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Hey, Matt, let's hop on the Kenny Seesaw. Question from Ryan A.
They are good.
Headed to North Florida. Yeah, their last two, they've absolutely destroyed competition here. Mega impressive. The talent is there to do what they're doing, so it actually kind of makes sense. Do they get another one done at North Florida?
Yeah, I just think they are so hot right now, and nothing about this
Hansel.
Oh, so hot right now. Hansel, so hot right now. But Jim, we believe this, don't we? I mean, this team is mega talented. I know we're coming from a baseline of bottom 30 worst teams in the country when they were young, but I think we have to completely ignore that prior. You have to look at what this now sophomore laden nucleus is starting to turn into, which basically has 4 fringe 4 stars, 3 stars, depending on how you slice and dice the recruiting rankings. Tough matchup though. This zone's weird. Did not play well last year against it at North Florida. That's my only concern here for backing the Owls.
Yeah, maybe the key has been Murray State transfer Damon Robinson has given them a real presence in the paint on both ends of the court. So that's stabilized them. Kai, another one from Ryan A. and SWAC. Texas Southern at Jackson State. Jackson State finally got a win in this league, but
yeah, great.
It's been a lot more balanced. Texas Southern just lost to Alcorn. We thought these were two of the powers, and it has not been the case so far.
I probably lean Texas Southern bouncing back here, but I think these two teams are pretty close to each other. I can't figure out Jackson State though. I can't figure out Prairie View. I can't figure out any of these teams in the SWAC, Jim. It's been tough.
Agree.
Agree. None of them have stuck to like preseason expectations whatsoever.
None.
Strange. McInnes is like the best defensive player in low major basketball, and
Yes.
Texas Southern tries to get to the rim. So that's a tough matchup issue for them. But Watson's been out for Jackson State. Hurts their shot creation. Matt from Ray Paez, the Pilots, wants to know if we touched on this one. Portland headed to Loyola Marymount, who has sucked lately. Did Portland get another road upset win outright? Maddie Sprinkles?
Yeah, my gut leaned that way, Jim, but this is no bargain. I'd like to be catching a little more than 10. Loyola is categorically more athletic and more talented. And I know that Portland's the better coach team and can win with smoke and mirrors as they've been covering for most of the season. But no, I don't want to lay this price. I think it's just too. I'd like to be catching like 13. 10's
So you
too,
don't want
too
to
little.
take that price.
Yeah, sorry, take that price. Excuse me.
Okay.
I want to bet Portland.
Marymount.
The price is not right. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
They've won as many games under Legans in WCC play as they did in 3 years under Terry Porter.
Coaching upgrade?
One,
Maybe.
one in 40-ish.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kai, another one from Lashana. Bethune-Cookman headed to Arkansas Pine Bluff, aka Peanut Butter. Peanut Butter's lineup was absolutely ravaged last game, and they just played OT 48 hours ago. I have to like Bethune-Cookman here.
Bethune-Cookman absolutely in this game. Now, Pine Bluff beat Florida A&M with that shorthanded lineup.
Lost
So
in
that's
OT.
lost in OT.
Yep.
That's shocking. I think Bethune-Cookman, who is pretty good actually, or at least not as big of a train wreck as I thought they'd be. I think they're going to win this game. Bethune.
Yeah, if Williams and Milton and I think even Simpson got hurt, like if all those guys are out for Pine Bluff, then they should be in trouble. All right, couple more. 3-man week top 10 fan has a couple questions. Delaware at Northeastern, we're going to holster for a second until best bets. Seattle at Cal Baptist, Matt. Wow, Cal Baptist kind of burned us without Nottage, without Taron Armstrong. Still beat Utah Valley late Saturday night. Do they get another big win here against Seattle?
I like Seattle a lot. Matchup wise, I think Darian Trammell and Cam Tyson run circles around that porous perimeter defense that Cal Bap trots out. However, tough travel spot. I think only one day off coming from the Pac Northwest down to LA area. So I think that's kind of important. I'd like to be catching this closer to a pick. It's been bet up to 2. So I didn't officially bet it, but I think Seattle is a strong lean for me.
Yeah, I lean towards Seattle too. If Armstrong and Nottage are both still out, then Seattle's just better. All right, Kai, the other one, UNC Wilmington at Charleston. Just saw this one come in. Anything for you on this game?
I kind of lean Wilmington at +8. They've been very good lately. Seems like Siddell is figured out something with their defense. He's changed things up, and it's been working very well. Charleston's still a very good team. I'm not sure they deserve to be 8-point favorites though right now.
I agree. Fell high.
I kind of lean towards the under as well. I just think Wilmington's been playing a lot more slowly, a lot slow, like tempo has gone down, and that's helped them. And then the last question that I saw from our guy, Scotty Schaefer, had to ask me early thoughts on the Packers and the Niners.
All right, gotta go.
Great.
Tough matchup for the Pack here, but it's Lambeau. Jimmy Garoppolo and Lambeau in January. We're fine. Packers will win. All right.
What's the spread?
I think 4.5 is what I saw opener. I wouldn't bet the spread. I would probably money line and find something to sweeten it up with. All right, let's go to best bets. My best bet comes from the Big Sky. The Undertaker's back. I'm going Northern Arizona and Idaho. The under. The last I saw, the number was 149.5, but I will double check now. Idaho's coming off the rivalry game against Idaho State. Now they head to altitude 48 hours later against a team that wants to grind the game into a half-court crawl.
Yep.
I don't think Idaho has the juice to speed this one up. I think we get a pretty slow game here. So even though both defenses suck, I think this one's going to be relatively inefficient, pretty slow, and under the total of 149.
Refreshing too.
Yep.
Okay. What is it, Jim?
149.5.
Okay.
So then, Matt, let's go to or recap your your strange best bet situation.
My strange, it was kind of a strange caveated best bet, but you know what? Let's just move all the BS aside. I think Penn wins today. I don't care if Jalen Llewellyn and a clone of his plays today for the Tigers. I like the red and blue plus 3.5. I would prefer him not play, and I'd prefer you'd wait to see if by chance he's in there and the line may rise and you could actually get more value at plus 4.5, plus 5, Kai. But again, not going to complicate things. Take Penn plus 3.5.
And my best bet, guys, is Northeastern plus 2 at BetRivers right now. This is a must win for Northeastern. They're 0-5 in the Colonial, and they were picked by several people, I believe, odds on favorite in most markets to win this league. It's been completely personnel based. The main reason they've been losing these games, guys been in and out of the lineup. They should be fully healthy in this game. Delaware is tough, very, very tough indeed, but they shouldn't be dogs here at full strength. So you're getting a lot of value at plus 2.
Don't know if they'll be full strength. Hopefully Scott Grayson plays for you. I'd like to see him back in there.
Yeah, I mean, Shaquille Walters is the guy that matters for me the most, and he's back in.
Yep. All righty. That's it, Kai, Mr. Host.
That's it. That's it indeed. Thank you for joining us. We're back at the normal time tomorrow at noon Central with another episode of Field of 68 Best Bet Show. Please like and subscribe on the way out, and we will see you tomorrow. Good luck in your bets.
Yeah.